Hey guys, it's your girl Monique Malabet, First Lady Realty, and we're back with a brand new series called Market Update in a Matter of Minutes. Everybody has been talking about how hot the real estate market is, but if you're not a real estate professional or an investor, do you really truly understand what that means? If you don't, no worries. This is why I created this series because I want to start talking to you guys about what's going on in this crazy real estate market right now. And I'm going to make sure that every month I'm going to come with actual data so you guys can follow along and truly understand what's happening in our local real estate market. Now, if you're wondering why exactly do you need to know what's going on in the local real estate market, if you are a home buyer or if you are a seller, or if you're even considering maybe refinancing or taking money out of your home, it's essential that you understand what's going on in your local real estate market so you can set up the right realistic expectations. I always say that when I'm talking to people that are considering buying or selling, you need to know the realistic expectation of what's going on in the market. So you don't jump into the market, kind of lost and, a little green. You can save yourself thousands of dollars just ensuring that you are knowledgeable about what's going on in your local real estate market. Now, let's dive in. Let's talk about some of these terms you guys probably have been seeing a lot lately, and that is a seller's market. What exactly does that mean? Everybody's been saying it. We're in a seller's market nationwide, but what does that mean? It actually means that demand exceeds supply, guys. Remember, we learned this a long time ago, in middle school or something like that, maybe elementary. We talked about, supply, demand. I can't fully remember when we talked about it, but at least when we learned it, right? But one thing we have to realize is that right now, what we're seeing nationwide is that there's a lot more demand for home buyers than there are for inventory. So there's not a lot of sellers out there selling their home. And also economists have said that nationwide, we're actually having an inventory shortage. We need about 5 to 6 million homes before we can actually meet that buyer demand, guys. So this is what we're experiencing nationwide. So just understand, as of right now, this is what they mean when they say it's a seller's market. Now, buyer's market is pretty much the opposite, guys. So just understand that there's a lot more in a buyer's market. There's typically a lot more sellers that want to sell their home than there is actual buyers that want to buy their property. And then we can actually be in a buyer's market and a seller's market simultaneous in the same city, town, and also at the same time frame. So one thing you guys have to realize is that, real estate is local. Yes, nationwide, we can say, hey, this is what's going on. But keep in mind, in certain cities and towns, even neighboring cities and towns can essentially be in two different markets. So just keep that in mind when you're out there house hunting. Yes, you can simultaneously be in a seller's market and a buyer's market. Then also, there are times where the market is just leveled. It's not a seller's market. It's not really a buyer's market. So either route, it's important that you have a local realtor that can explain all this to you. Now, let's go ahead and dive in and talk about the Washington, D.C. real estate market. Now, guys, I'm going to play a little bit of music. I hope you guys don't mind. I just want us to be able to kind of relax and have a little bit of fun with this. I know real estate can be somewhat boring, so my goal is to kind of bring it to you a little bit more excitingly. So I hope y'all don't mind. I'm going to play a little music. Now, let's talk about what happened in 2021. What happened in this crazy real estate market that you guys keep hearing about? And I'm going to stop my video so you guys can see all of the data. Now, in Washington, D.C., the average sold price of homes was about $819,000, guys. Isn't that insane? That number actually went up by 8% from 2020. In 2020, the average price point of homes was about $757,000. I'm going to go ahead and round that number up if you guys don't mind, because it is a little bit more than $757,000. As you can see, it was actually $758,000. I'm going to round it up. It's a little easier when we're talking. Now, let's talk about the average days on the market, because I know this is very important when you're out there house hunting, or if you're a seller and you're trying to set your home up for, to sell, and you're like, what's realistic in terms of how soon I can get this property under contract and sold? So the average days in the market for home sellers when it comes to selling their home was about 27 days. And this number did not change at all from 2020 to 2021, okay? Average list price to sold price. That is what this stands for, average LP to SP. And also, guys, as you probably figured out, DOM is days on the market. Sorry about that. Now, list price to sold price. As you guys can see that 100%, that was the average in the area. Now, what does that mean? That means that most sellers that put their house on the market pretty much got 100% of their list price. I know as a seller, that's probably huge. You're like, woo, I put my house on the market and I got what I was asking for. So that was pretty average and standard across the board. In 2020, it was only a slight change. It was a 0.9% change. In 2020, it was 99.1%. Okay, guys, pretty cool, especially if you're a seller right now. Now, total sold dollar volume. This probably doesn't really matter to anybody, but I like to point out, guys, that, we're looking at the 8 billions at this point in terms of the dollar volume of these, all the homes that sold in Washington, D.C. And that actually went up. This number went up by 19.75%. We'll talk on the next video as to why, because obviously it comes down to that the average sold price as well, right? Now, let's talk about units sold. Now, in 2021, about 10,829 units sold. That number actually went up by 12.23% from 2020. In 2020, as you guys can see, it was 9,649. So I know we've been talking about, a lot of inventory and a housing shortage pretty much nationwide, but it's interesting to see how we still had an increase in the number of houses that sold from 2020 to 2021. And I'm quite sure many of us can agree that it was largely due to the pandemic. For a couple of months, as we all know, in March, April, and even May, we had stay-at-home orders, so obviously that probably played a part. But it is good to see that this number actually, went up a little bit, especially being that we didn't really have as much of a stay-at-home order in 2021. Not saying we didn't, but it wasn't as intense as it was in 2022 for those couple of months. Now, financing, and this is, again, guys, days on the market of how long it took to sell a house. Now, financing, I always think this is pretty cool. Primarily because you need to get an idea. It is good to know what people are kind of using and how competitive the real estate market is wherever you're at. Now, 8,144 of this 10,829 units that sold, people use a conventional loan. And we're going to talk about that real quickly as to why that's important. And the same thing when it comes to cash, not the same thing. The next highest number is cash. 1,743 people use cash. Talking about fierce competition, right, guys? That's super fierce. I don't know about y'all, but that just sounds, I'll say, not gonna say insane, but it's pretty insane. It's very competitive in the DC area. Now, if you are more like a first-time home buyer, you saw only about 262, people actually use the FHA loan. And the next highest number outside of cash was actually that VA loan. And we always want to thank our veterans for your service and keep in mind that you guys used about 376 people use that type of financing when it came to purchasing their home. Now, when we're talking about like conventional and cash, why this is super competitive, and why people probably are taking that route, primarily because in the eyes of the seller, and I'm gonna say the eyes of the seller, guys, a conventional loan typically has less restrictions. So a lot of sellers will tend to lean towards taking that conventional loan. It's not always about the price, guys. I know when it comes to buying or selling, you want to think, let me submit the highest price possible. But I've literally gotten emails from real estate agents and even talked to different sellers that said, I'm going to go with this person's offer, not because of just the price. It's other things in the terms that I agree with. And sometimes it is because it's obviously cash, because we know cash is king, or it's because it's a conventional loan. So there's typically a little bit less restrictions when it comes to that loan. So, and that's nothing I made up, guys. That's just how, this industry kind of works. So I don't want to prevent anybody from going FHA. Please don't take it that way. I'm just letting you know how it looks in the eyes of a seller. And talk to your mortgage lender about that a little bit more, your mortgage professional, if you kind of have questions about that. They can explain that further or reach out to your real estate agent or me, and I can explain that a little bit more. Okay, we're not going to dive too deep into that because I want to finish up with this market data. Now, days on the market sold. This number right here. Well, first, let's talk about the highest number, which is from the first, basically, let's say the moment the home hit the market to 10 days, 4,924 guys. That's essentially half of the units that sold last year. They sold within the first to 10 days, guys. That's huge. And that's something you definitely should be aware of. And you should know if you're out there house hunting or if you're selling your house, because you can kind of set yourself up for those expectations of that to happen, right? Obviously, keep in mind, you may want to look more on a local, if you're searching a specific area, you can dive deep. You can have your real estate agent kind of run you numbers based on like a neighborhood or a block or a community, right? So keep that in mind. You can also do that as well. But it's something to recognize that throughout DC, sorry, this number, a lot of homes were selling in that first the 10 days right there. It's insane within a week and a half. Now, the next highest number is 11 to 20 days. We saw about 1,408 units sell in that time frame. And then the next highest number is 888, which is within the first 21 to 30 days. Now, I want to talk about this number right quick, because I know you guys are probably wondering, like, what does that even mean? 337 units sold before the house even hit the market. So 0 days means that coming soon. If you are working with a real estate professional, they can explain this further, but that's the advantage of working with a real estate professional. You have access to the MLS, and you can go ahead and get access to homes before they hit the market, and you can actually submit on those properties. Okay, there are rules in terms of actually being able to view those homes. And I'm not going to get into that right now, but you can always talk to your real estate professional and they can explain that a little bit more. But that's a huge difference. That's a game changer. If you're out there bidding on multiple properties and you keep getting outbidded and you're like, oh my gosh, what else can I do? You definitely need to get access to those homes that are not yet on the market. So that is a bit of a benefit and a perk if you are working with a real estate professional, because you have access to that data. If you are on Zillow or like Redfin or any of those other apps that's out there, you won't have access to that data. So just keep that in mind. That's something, you use if you have a real estate professional. Now, we're pretty much done, guys. Let me know if you have a question. And even if you would like to have, a market update for 2021 in a different location, is there an area that you preference? Reach out to me, guys. I can go ahead and provide you with that market data. Now, keep in mind, if you are not in DC, Maryland, or Virginia, I may not have access to that data, but we can find a local knowledgeable realtor in your location who can provide you with this data as well. And I also have, a list of professionals and partners everywhere. So if you can't find one, reach out to me and I'll help you find one. Okay. All righty, guys. Now, if you want to follow me, I am on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at First Lady Realty and also Urban Metro Homes. If you're in the process of house hunting and searching for houses, you can go ahead and search right now on urbanmetrohomes.com. So feel free to dive in. And for, those of you who have questions, feel free to text me at 202-768-7898 or email me, guys, at Monique@urbanmetrohomes.com or urbanmetrohomes@gmail.com. So for those of you who don't know me, I am a real estate agent. I'm also like to call myself a small-time investor as well. And just some of my recent accolades is that I won a G-Card Recognition Award last year this year actually, for my production in 2021. And as you guys can see throughout the year, last year in 2021, I won a number of numerous awards as well. Just want you guys to understand who you're talking to. I am a real estate professional as well, and I help a lot of people with buying or selling. And also, as you guys can see, in all different price points. I appreciate y'all time, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Be sure to like, subscribe, so you could be notified when the next market data has been posted by me, your girl, Monique Malabet. I appreciate it, guys. Until next time.